Wednesday, April 10th, and welcome to the meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. The council is advisory and in Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors. And I'd like to start off with the roll call.
All right. Tom Lay,
Here.
right? George Cleveland,
I'm here.
Sue Boudreau, Jim Herman, Dr. Melinda McLean,
Yeah.
Mickey Norris, Tom Owens,
Here.
Shirley Rosenthal Winston, leave that.
Excused absence.
Okay, and Randy Lloyd.
Here.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Okay, well, welcome, Randy. Your first MAC meeting.
Thank
you. Bravo.
After a million years of living here, you get to go do this.
So before we go any further, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ronnie, treasurer's report.
Yep, so we're still standing in $2,091.
Is that correct? Ronnie?
Yes.
It should be 2,901. That's what we had last month.
29. Okay, got it.
Good catch, thank you. Okay, can we approve we have a motion to approve the minutes from the March meeting?
I'll second.
I have a,
Correct.
why do you have a correction?
And I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay, and my one correction was about the hours of the Earth Day event, that is upcoming. It says that, yes, it is. Well, let me just say that, sorry about that. Our next third Saturday cleanup is also our Earth Day event, and the correct hours on this postcard. So it's from, the cleanup's from 9:30 till noon. And then the celebration from 11:45 to 2. That's something.
We're gonna put out an e-block of all the events that goes to thousands of people, so we'll make sure we have that
Great,
in our large.
thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
We already have that.
And a second.
All right, with the correction, okay. So now we have the regularly scheduled, yeah, I'm sorry, let's.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes as amended, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. One abstention. Motion carries.
Okay, so sorry about that. Now we'll go into the regularly scheduled presentation and representative of local governments. And starting off, Supervisor Trainer.
You met your new MAC member, and of course, you'll have another new one in a couple months or two. So when Sue leaves, we're not rushing her along. We're not rushing her along. Did Brandon, you get a chance to say who you are?
No.
I don't know if I did that last time or not. So my name is Randy Lloyd. I grew up here in El Sobrante. I've been here for 53 years. So I'm a local business owner here in town. We own El Sobrante Feed and Pet Supply. I'm also a business agent for Labor Union, the Plumbers and Steam Fitters, Local 342, out of Oakland, California. We have an office in Concord as well. So my email is on the website. So if anybody has any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me and we'll correspond and see if there's anything I can do for you.
Great. And I guess, Ron, you can see me here, right?
Yeah.
Try to do it here so people can hear us. Good. So I'll go through, we have a few items on the county presentation. I need to make a list. I'll first start with, we had a really successful coffee with myself and the sheriff deputy on Saturday. We had about 40 people, standing room only here. There was lots of issues covered, mostly people from El Sobrante. There was some other folks too. talked a lot about traffic and crime, but also other issues. And the sheriff deputy, actually the lieutenant, talk of Bay Station, talk about the way the beats work around here. I will add to that, one of the items on the report is I chair the board, our Board of Supervisors Public Protection Committee. One of the issues that I've asked for us to look at is how there's some funding that's collected from new homes, and it's not enough to support a full-time deputy, but it's enough to do some other things. So we're gonna get an update on that from the sheriff's department and maybe work with the sheriff's office to determine how best to spend that. I forgot, it's maybe $200 per house, but it was only enacted starting in the 90s on homes built in the unincorporated area. And there's, there were some, not a lot. And so it accumulates funding. It's every year. There's funding that's accumulated because it hasn't been enough to fund a full-time deputy. That fund has grown a bit. And so we're going to work and explore opportunities, and we'll come back to the MAC about how we can spend that money on various quality of life law enforcement issues. We'll talk about that later, but I just wanted you to know that's something we're going to deal with. We also approved, there was a program, I think I talked about it a little bit at the last meeting. We did approve at our board meeting yesterday a proposal to spend $400,000 a year to help subsidize and help operate a program where the school district opens up its fields for nonprofit youth groups in West America. At any of its sites. There's a lot of demand for fields. There's not money to build fields. I have talked to the superintendent about also the issue of how they open up their school sites. They have said they are also working to open up those sites after an after-school program ends, which is usually at 5 or 6, and that they're working with their principals to try to open up more of their sites for the public. But our fund will specifically be used to cover about 75% of the cost that youth groups pay to use a field, whether it's for soccer or baseball or football or basketball, whatever. But there's a big demand, and not enough city parks. And as you know, a lot of these fields go underutilized. And then it will also include a position with the education fund to work with the school district to do more scheduling to open up these fields. So it's to support their infrastructure and to help subsidize it in its health funds, because we see it as a health issue. The more young people can get out and participate in sports, the healthier there will be. So that's important. And we're working on that now. We also approved yesterday, broader issue, just so you know, a proposal to really expand healthcare for uninsured in the county. We currently have what's called a basic healthcare program that covers people not eligible for Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal covers up to 138% of poverty. For a family of 2, that's about $28,000, not a lot. So our program covers people up to 300% of poverty, which is about $60,000 for a family of 2. They could use county primary care, specialized care, hospital, and we're going to partner with the community clinics where people can also go to a community clinic for primary care and then over to the county for specialized care and hospital. So we removed any restrictions on immigration status. So you can be whatever, regardless of immigration status, because clearly there's a lot of good, one, it's the right thing to do. We're all healthier when we all have health care. And there's a lot of evidence that shows that where people have access to primary care and a physician in a medical home, there's less emergency room visits and less cost to the healthcare system. So we approved that, and I worked hard with community groups to do that. We talked about the Maori property. This is sort of relevant. Anybody here sort of following, advocating for the park? I met a couple times, most recently with our planning department and the owner of the Maui property, which is the same individuals that own the car wash. A really important point. Based on community demand, community interest, We are, our new policy for El Sobrante in our new general plan is to discourage auto uses on San Pablo Dam Road. Now, what we also did was we, to meet housing demand issues and our housing element, we actually already, for that Maui site, changed the, general plan designation from commercial, which would allow auto, to residential, which also allows a park. Really important point. It allows some dense development, it could allow housing over commercial. So apparently the owner of the Maui property wasn't aware of that. It was publicly done. They want to expand their car wash more than I previously thought. They want to put in, their plan is to put in a bunch of vacuums. They said it'll be free for the community, whatever, it's vacuum related to a car wash and take up most of the frontage of that. That was their primary purpose, they said, to buy the property. Of course, that's not allowed under the general plan. Then they would want to build some housing. And my purpose of meeting with them is to say, well, you have a requirement when you build housing to also put money per unit to support a park. And what we're trying to say is, if you build housing, whatever you build there, we would like to have you dedicate, not buy, dedicate some portion of the back part of the property for a park and require them to build out some of that park. They expressed general agreement to that concept. The issue I said to them is, I think you need to go back and redesign and try to minimize how much you want to expand the car wash onto the new property. I said, the community is not really going to support an expanded, big expansion of your car wash. I said, however, and frankly, how much density you can build is also subject to a permit. And there's parking requirements. And by the way, Sue, I'm going to do a summary of all this. So you all don't have to work so hard. I thought it was easier for me. You know, the one I submitted last month, I submitted a written summary. I'm going to do that again. So that'll make it easier. Okay. It was like, oh, I better tell Sue this now. Of course, when you go back to the UK, you can still zoom in and make notes. I know whatever time it is. So we, I'm hoping they come back with a smaller expansion of auto use. And I said, maybe the community is going to be more supportive, and I will be more supportive in approving this, because it has to go to the Board of Supervisors because of the general plan change. If you really have a community benefit of outlining a park back there. So this is gonna take a while. It's not gonna happen overnight. Property's not going anywhere. But I don't know how you feel, but I don't really want to see the whole front of that property be a car wash. I'd rather have it be some kind of mixed use housing over commercial with the park in the back.
That'd be great.
Right, and now, but they are adamant that they say they bought the property to expand their car wash. They say, but we're gonna give the community free vacuums. Well, so what? It's like you're still, and we want that site to be housing, because the density brings people, having actually eyes on a park is safe too. And then we would probably have to reduce parking requirements for both residential and the park, because, so I'm just saying, we're at an early stage. They're willing to have a discussion, but they're adamant about that. So we can take all questions at the end. I just
Well,
want
at least they're not a tire shop.
right, exactly. So that's what happened. As you all know, farmers market's gonna open April 21st. We did approve the encroachment permit yesterday on the board. We approved the encroachment permit to close the street on Sundays. I've offered to make sure they're getting the permits from environmental health, because they need permits for each of the vendors. So they're working on that, and so we're looking forward.
Sammy's working furiously to
Yeah,
make sure that
yeah.
we actually
And
develop.
I told, I've told Department of Health, what can we do?
And later I'll have some more announcements for people
Okay.
who want to help.
Great. Remember we said the noise ordinance or the noise process, so, planning and building is developing a survey that they're gonna send out to all the MACs and start outreach about it. So you'll hear from that and start that process. I was on the interview panel for a new animal services director. We, have recommended one that's gonna come to the board very soon. I feel really good about this person. They worked in two area public agencies, a county and a large city. They have really good experience. I think this individual would be very good. I'm hopeful. So we'll announce that when it comes to the board very soon. We've been in negotiations with, the public for the renewal of their garbage franchise, which for the unincorporated areas of West County, which is all the unincorporated areas except Kensington and Rodeo. Those are covered by sanitary district and Crockett. This covers everything else. And their agreement expires at the end of this year. One of the things we're talking to them about is increasing their role for picking up illegal dumping in the public right of way. And we would build that into the rates, right? It wouldn't cost a lot. That's the good news. Means garbage bills will be a little slightly higher to cover that cost. It's a way to get more funding to do this. We're also working with them to really transition to zero emission garbage trucks over time. So they're not diesel, they're clean vehicles, not noisy. So we're working on that. But other issues, increasing services, long ways to go, but I just wanted to note, we're specifically focusing on having them play a greater role in picking up dumping on the public right.
When do you want questions, John?
Pardon me? I think, yeah, almost done.
Okay.
Clark Road discussion, I think there are people on the Clark Road issue. Yeah,
Yes.
so, I know you have a separate item to talk about Clark Road security and safety, which is a separate item. I was just gonna give an update on something related to the maintenance of the street. As you know, Clark Road from San Pablo Dam Road up to a little before the school is a county maintained road. And then between that point and the entrance to East Bay Regional Park, it is in the unincorporated area, but it's never accepted by the county for maintenance. So it's not a county maintained road. That's been the issue. Then once it crosses into the park, it enters the city of Richmond. Many years ago, the city and the park district had an agreement which says the park district has the easement of that for its entrance to the park, the regional park, the trail, and the park district maintains that, not the city. And when the park district did its environmental documentation, it sort of assumed that all of Clark Road was county maintained. They did not know that a portion of it was unmaintained. So obviously, it's a major impact. The use up to the trail. So we had a meeting with the park district and county public works at my office. And we discussed with the park district, try to get an agreement where the park district will share some expense with the county to improve that unmaintained section to some standard, better than it is. Not up to county maintained standard, county standard for a new street, but improve it, and then the county would take over maintenance. So the private property owners on either side, whether they're residential or the school, wouldn't have any obligation to maintain it. It would be the county, but we're trying to get the park district to put some money into it based on usage. So the county's going out there to assess what needs to be done. Does any of it need to be widened? There needs to be some improvement. Do enough, get the park district to at least pay half of that or more of that one-time cost, and then they get a benefit because then we're maintaining. So nothing beyond that to report other than, I think, good progress, and we're hopefully going to move that along. So I think those were the items that I wanted to cover. Then we have our budget hearings coming up in a couple of weeks. Oh, and I previously said that we have a Measure X allocation of $1 million a year countywide for unincorporated area parks. We haven't figured out yet how to allocate it among our supervisorial districts. We will. It means that there'll be money for maintenance for parks here. How much I don't know. Okay, that's the report.
Excellent. Well, I think that there's a lot of emails to ask questions, so Melinda, why don't you go ahead?
Mine's quick. Part of the illegal dumping thing is the high cost of dumping at Republic Services. So if that could be part of the negotiation, the dump fees there are so much higher that people drive to Vallejo to dump.
Yeah.
Now that's people trying to do it legally and right. So I do think it's part of why people illegally dump is they can't afford the dump fees.
Well, we have two things. One is actually what we're seeing is more of the people who are dumping are not property owners. They're
Right.
they're these mom and pop haulers who know better, who operate a business, who charge you $50 to take your stuff, dump it and pocket the money.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. In fact, so we passed an ordinance, that's something I propose, although there's a state law that may go further, that requires people who haul across the county to get to register, to get a permit from environmental health. 5 entities registered. There's hundreds of people that do this across the county. So, and many of the ones that have, you know, they're just a pickup truck and they're doing it. We're working with the DA to try to prosecute them when they do this. But so what's happening is, it's mostly those people we believe. Not that there aren't individuals, in fact, I can say, in North Richmond, because of the proximity to the landfill, 20 years ago, we negotiated a program when the city and the county issued permits for the transfer station. That pretty much means if you live in North Richmond, you can get a voucher almost any time to take stuff there. Despite that, there's plenty of illegal dumping in North Richmond because these illegal haulers are dumping it close. And actually, the cost of regulation and closure of landfills and transfer stations is really high. And what happened is that landfill is closed, it's capped. The Regional Water Board has all sorts of requirements. And the fees actually are high around the region. I don't know if there are individual differences, but landfill disposal fees now have gone up a lot because of regulatory requirements.
They are higher here than in Vallejo, in Berkeley, and in Marin. And I
They're
know
not
this.
higher than Keller, which is the other big one in the county, Keller Canyon.
Yeah, we never go there because it's more expensive, but
Yeah.
as somebody who's done a lot of
Yeah,
legal dumping.
right.
A lot of legal dumping, I guarantee you, Vallejo's cheaper, Marin is cheaper,
right.
Berkeley is cheaper.
Well, all I can say is they're limited on what their profit is. This is all associated with their costs.
Yeah,
And it's the regulatory requirements, it's one of the more newer closed landfills, there's lots of regulatory requirements. There's a lot of, and even one of the things we will negotiate with Republic, I think, is more vouchers. More free vouchers during the year, I think that's something we've heard, instead of one, and I think we wanna have more opportunities during the year.
dumpster days are
Yes,
great.
we're also gonna get we're gonna do that kind of stuff, more dumpsters, we wanna provide more opportunity for people to freely. That's why I think it's really, the problem is really these illegal haulers. In fact, what some of them are doing is going to illegal landfill. I mean, we discovered in environmental health a few years ago, cracked down on a site that was really bad. It was where the illegal haulers were taking their trash, and it wasn't the landfill. So that's the problem, and so we want to have more vouchers, more dumpster days. We're going to work on that. But we also need to work on the other point. We're not going to be able to lower the fees there, but we can get more vouchers out and more dumpsters. I think that's how we're going to do that. But I mean, look, we've been dealing with illegal dumping issues in North Richmond well before you started your cleanups here. It is, and Tanya in my office actually ran the program in North Richmond. It is really complicated. I mean,
Yep.
It's education, it's enforcement. Cameras can help, but there's no magic bullet here. You can put a camera up, they see the camera, they go somewhere else. we've experienced that we put cameras up in North Richmond. So cameras can work, but they just move their illegal dumping somewhere else. And then, but we are looking, believe me, that's why we want to also increase the public's role, build it into the rates.
Mickey?
Okay. All right. So, with Republic Services, we'd also like you to bring up the fact that litter flies off their trucks. And they have to have a better way of like managing that. We saw, somebody was telling us that they saw them picking up the trash cans and then things were falling onto the street and nobody was
Yeah.
there to sweep that up, and people have witnessed it on the freeways as well, falling out of their truck.
That's terrifying.
And that's something that ends up on the side of the road, so it has a hazard as well, so if that could be a part of it as well. So we saw that there have been the new fencing along San Pablo Dam Road by the reservoir. That
On
is
East
blocked.
Family property or where? Okay, but over.
It was at the pullouts by, yeah, by the pullouts. And so that nobody's dumping there except, like, we just drove there yesterday and I saw at the end of the fence, somebody dumped right there. And then they're just dumping on the side of the road wherever they can find a place, and they're major, big dumps of mattresses and big piles of trash, like somebody just took their truck and just emptied it. And I don't know, you know, if the cameras or signs.
I mean, the
that
problem
fines
is putting a
and things
camera
like that.
everywhere, and you know, yeah, I mean, you can't, at some level, right, the fence, you could put a fence everywhere, I know, this is, believe me, it's been,
Yeah.
you could fence a whole damn road and they'll still find a place. In fact, in North Richmond, we had property owners put in fencing on their yards, and guess what? People cut through the cyclone
Oh
fence.
my
I mean, and then, they cut through the fence, they dropped it off. I mean, we were requiring property owners who had a lot of dumping, because they were paying for the cost to put up fencing.
Well, we had illegal dumping on our site and they went through the cyclone fence.
Yeah, and it's not just a problem here, right, it's a
Huge.
problem
Yeah,
It's
everywhere.
construction
and
dumping.
That's why we are gonna build in more work by Republic for this. Yeah, you know, this is one of those issues, I wish I could say there was a magic answer. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, the DA tries to prosecute when they can get it, it's hard. You know, then there's the issue, you know, do you want to impound the vehicle of somebody's livelihood? You know, they are dumping, yeah, I mean, there's that issue. So there's a lot of, and judges are not very willing to do that. We
Yeah.
talk to judges about this. We meet with them, we talk to them about general issues. So it's not as simple as we think it should be.
no, I know, but how about, you know, how about a PR campaign, a region-wide PR campaign? Where there's PSAs on radio stations, on billboards, or different things to raise the consciousness about it.
But to the point, the people who are dumping know it's illegal.
I'm talking about littering too.
Oh, yeah, that's, yes,
Yeah.
the people that are doing this,
Mhm.
it's like, just like the people that do the fireworks, they know it's illegal, even when the
Yeah.
sheriff and all the cities did this whole thing about the fireworks. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I think enforcement is really important. That's why we're gonna look at the hauler situation. There's a state law that may allow, we want the cities to pass ordinances like we have, they have not.
Yeah,
And I mean, if we can license folks, then the sheriff or police or CHP can say, oh, they're carrying stuff, they don't have a sticker. And you know, what they'll say is they're busy enforcing other laws. Do you want that? And how much time do they have to stop these trucks on the road? So there's that issue, priority of enforcement. So but that would be a perfect world to give them a tool so they can do that. But then if we require it, but the city doesn't, it's like, what good is it? And nobody's registering under the ordinance. We thought when we enacted the ordinance several years ago that it would be more effective, but it obviously is.
so there are five legal haulers now that are registered. Can
Something
we,
like that, yeah.
can we get a link to?
Yeah, I'm
that?
trying to get the list so you can.
Yeah, because you know, we're gonna.
1-800 got junk, by the way. The other one is a junk cat, or they were, I don't know if they re-registered junk cat which is a locally owned company in El Cerrito, did, but I don't know if they still are. There were a few others. We'll get the names.
Yeah, because we're gonna be reviewing our
Yeah.
postcard and
Yeah.
on the back it has resources. what people can
Right.
do. So that would be great. Regarding the noise ordinance, and we're happy to hear that, the process is going forward. What do people do if they have noisy neighbors at this point?
Well, we did pass an ordinance that I talked about.
Yeah, but let's put 75 people,
But,
just
but,
like a
well, a
noisy.
lot of the issues are, look, Richmond has a noise ordinance and they have noise. The
Mhm.
noise, let me be really clear here. Richmond's noise ordinance has not solved the noise problem in Richmond.
Mhm.
I live in Richmond. You need more than that. It is about, and it's never gonna totally go away.
Mhm.
The ordinance says that, right, if someone has a gathering of 75 or more, they can't have amplified sound after a certain time, they have to limit their decibels, all of that.
Yeah.
That's at least designed for people who have big events. If people have, yeah, I mean, if people have a neighbor and there's 10 people and it's loud,
Yeah,
you can call the sheriff. And I think they will try in the priority of stuff to go out to help. They did say that.
okay.
So they will try that. The issue, even under the noise ordinances, it doesn't change the sheriff's department, what they do, it's the priority of enforcement. The other way, we're not gonna have a code enforcement officer working 24 hours a day, we just don't. That's the problem with some of the nighttime stuff on enforcement is you have to call a code enforcement officer, goes out there at 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
So I think that's why they want to have this dialogue with the MAC, to try to, how do you fine tune this to be as effective as possible? And I know I keep hearing noise ordinances will solve the problem. They don't alone. It's a lot of stuff. I do think that to the extent we can get the sheriff to be helpful, but they have parties the standards for large events, at least, is one way to deal with those things.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the people who don't have the large events and then they get irritated or they can't sleep at night, they have
Yeah.
a dog barking all night next door or something like that. I'm just not sure what to tell people at this point.
I would say they should still call the sheriff, because the sheriff did say, I think someone said the sheriff didn't respond. The sheriff deputy told someone at that meeting, that's not true. We
Okay,
will respond
all right.
based on our priority of
Yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah, and one other thing, and then I'll.
And, we increased funding for beat, but we're not gonna over police, but we did increase funding for unimportant area beat patrol. So we were a little better than we were.
Mhm. One other thing about that car wash. So today, some of us on the green team were out there picking up litter along downtown. And I went to that car wash, and it's got the weirdest way, I don't even know how people know how to even get in there.
Yeah.
To pay for it. I asked them if they would. I just asked somebody who works there, it's not the owner, so they probably are not the right person to talk to, but I asked them if they could keep an eye on the area and stuff, because there's a lot of alcohol bottles and different things. She said, well, it's the homeless people, it's not their problem.
Well, they should be doing that, yeah,
Yeah, so they need to be reminded, if you're
We
gonna
will.
be talking to them,
we will.
that about maintaining the property in a good way for them.
Thanks, I think that's a good idea, we will. I will say,
Mhm.
and this gets into, why we don't need to have these expanded auto uses.
Mhm.
The only reason, I think, and I respect it, that they want to put in a bunch of free vacuums. If they want to attract more business to the car wash, so they can outcompete another car wash.
Yeah.
Right, so should we be like letting them put in free or whatever vacuums to help improve their business? That they want to attract all of you in El Sobrante to go there because they've got free vacuums, when we really should have housing in the park there.
Yeah.
I am not, this has to come to the board of supervisors. If they're, unless they make a real commitment to do something about a park, I don't have any inclination, I have to be careful here, to change the general plan to allow them to expand their their, their car wash is because they want to improve their business. They're totally fine as they are. They just want more, I get it, they want more business, but that's not zoned for commercial auto anymore.
So.
Yeah, well, he's in charge, so I. Yeah, they're in charge.
George?
Yeah, I think they take questions from them first and then.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also have one in the chat when we get to it.
Okay,
Yeah, trying to figure out who they compete with, it must be the one that's here on Apple.
this one over here,
This one on the.
right?
And the Dino is the best one.
That's
the
not-
cheapest.
That's not their competition, that's actually the same company. So,
Really?
yeah, the same company.
Bottom line, is,
Yeah.
here's the bottom line, they want more business, they wanna make more money, so they wanna use the neighboring land to put in expansion.
Right, about the neighborhood, so how that being,
They're working on a
I
survey,
know that,
Oh.
how's it coming to us?
they're gonna reach out to all the MACs in the county with the survey
Okay.
and interest to serve on a working group and to respond to the survey.
Okay.
Cause their other MACs haven't had the same discussion that you've had. So they're trying to, I think, remember, any kind of ordinance like that covers pretty much all the unincorporated areas. It's, so I think they're trying to figure out, it could have different standards by zoning district and area, but they're not gonna do it for one, I mean, we have like, I don't know, 20 unincorporated areas, not gonna do 20 ordinances, they're trying to do one ordinance that covers.
The sub-round basically as far as not music, unless I'm.
Well,
mistaken.
right,
dogs.
And not part of it.
well, dogs would be different, because
Already
dogs,
done.
we would work with animal services enforcement, you don't need a noise ordinance for the dog. Parking dogs would be, animal services.
It is a start, as John said,
Yeah.
because you mentioned Richmond. My next door neighbor is in Richmond, and that facility doesn't need police to people use it, so there's loud music during the day, sometimes she'll my house. My mom lives in Richmond proper herself, and in her neighborhood, there are a lot of people who like to play a lot of loud music, play it out on the, when she calls. But take them out and it shuts down, and then the next week, somebody else starts it up again, so, but it is something that's necessary. We have a lot of instances. Where people doing this, people doing that, you know, and it needs to be, it's a good start, it needs to be worked on, that's all I would say.
Okay. Tom, go ahead, and then.
Yeah, one, just a comment on the noise. We had a sheriff's officer move in half a block away from us. The noise has dropped an awful lot. And he parks his car outside his house.
Good.
So that, just on the noise.
He parks at a.
Get more cop cars.
Well, you know, it reminds me of San Francisco, that I was around Union Square last year before the holidays, and I would see, because you know, there's lots of crime around Union Square, I would see a San Francisco police car sitting, you know, it was locked, no one was in it. and
Right.
The officer was walking somewhere, so they got double coverage, you see the car, and you probably think somebody's there around it, and then the officer's somewhere else. So just the car being there.
Well, they do that on the freeway an awful lot too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
my other was maintenance. Have you driven the San Pablo Dam Road recently?
yeah,
It
we're
needs a lot of work.
yeah, so we're getting an update of when the scheduled, resurfacing for that area. I know they're going out, and there was a lot of storm damage.
Yes.
And they're working on that. I mean, they've had lots of storm damage around the county this winter. And a lot of their funding, staffing and so forth prioritize that, including the San Pablo Dam Road. So we'll get an update on there.
Yeah. I'd love it.
And Tom, I have one from the chat.
Okay,
So Matthew Spower asks, the sheriff says that to really stop noisy neighbors, you need to be willing to sign a complaint for disturbing the peace. And we have had them tell that in these meetings, and a lot of people aren't willing
Yeah.
to sign a complaint against their neighbor and then go through what that would produce.
Yeah, I don't remember everything the sheriff said, to be honest, and I know, you know, if you have that clarified.
I'd like to open the questions to the community. Any questions, Supervisor Grizz?
I just wonder how you propose to keep homeless people out of this park that you're going to be building.
Well,
There are homeless people all along the street. I just saw a homeless man here 5 minutes ago.
right,
It'll be a public park, so you can't.
right. So this is the public park here. right?
Yeah.
We spent about $1 million over 15 years to make, so that fence that you see, that wrought iron fence was one of the things that we had Public Works put up because there were people living and going down to the creek, defecating in the creek. So my understanding is, the library, yeah, here, my understanding is that that wrought iron fence has diminished the number of people that have gone down, at least from here. Right now, people can go down to the creek now without a park, because there's no fence on the other side. I think if we did a park, we would probably work on putting up a fence to keep, but that issue, I talked to homeowners a lot when it came to the coffee. So right now, in fact, right now, the property owners haven't fenced that. So people can go behind the properties and go behind. I think if there's housing in a park and people there, you know, if there's nice housing and that, you know, what research shows on a park will say is the more eyes on a park, on an area, the less crime, the less sort of loitering. So if we had housing back,
That'd be great.
then you have
Housing plus
people
park.
around. I live on the Bay Trail in Richmond. And lots of lighting, houses on the trail. It's, people see it, they use it, and there hasn't been any issue. I haven't had people come over my fence, I haven't had, so I think, getting more people down here was one way to help. And yes, the health department goes out and tries to talk to people and get them into shelters and housing and services. But that's an ongoing issue, it is. Many people don't want to get services, that's true, we can't force them to services, as you know. So I think that we talked with the sheriff about that, if there's a park there, you having it in conjunction with housing and a fence, that's why the fence here was put in, was to keep people from going down. You can't
They
prevent,
can access it from Central.
they can go from the other side.
The park, and from Appian, they've already cut the fence, we saw that when we were hanging the banners.
We've talked to Public Works about the fencing issue, about how do we improve fencing. People find a way in, like all these private property owners on the creek, right? Haven't put any fencing, and people can go behind their properties or down into the creek. That's an area, right, takes some ongoing enforcement. SOS is working on that, right? But if we do a park, I think at least we would make more activity and housing and more people and make it safer.
So I'd like to welcome maybe a couple of more questions from the community. Go ahead, please, sir.
John, regarding Clark Road maintenance and the proposal you just outlined
Yeah.
tonight, is this something that Public Works and East Bay Regional are reviewing now?
What we had, I was in on that meeting, and their general counsel was there, their operations people, you know, takes a while. And they understood the concept. They said, we need to run it through our own internal folks. Contra County, how much are you asking from us? So Public Works is going out, I think it's either this week, whatever, soon, very soon, to look at the road and make a best estimate of how much, what they need to do to make some improvements to the road, figuring out how much it will cost. And then, you know, we'll first ask the park district to pay for it all as a negotiating point. Then they'll come back, we'll see what they say. Because then if they do it, we would agree to take it on as a public road and do the maintenance. So that the private property owners nearby, yourself, the school, others wouldn't have to. So we'll hear back from them. If they haven't accepted it, they said, yes, we want to talk about this. And so I think we're just figuring out how much it'll cost, what we need to do, and then we'll hopefully, and follow up.
Chris, you have a question?
Yes, thanks. I want to thank you, John. I think this is an exceptionally broad and detailed and positive report you give us this week. This month, I should say, I hope maybe it's related to the coffee or something, but it's really
More
good.
stuff this.
Anyway, it is really good. I also wanted to mention, we talked about some maintenance issues on roads that El Portal is really terrible leading up to San Pablo Dam Road again. So that needs some. And what I really want to do is, if you could clarify for me, when you refer to unincorporated county, does that mean areas with max For rural areas or
Good
just
question.
everything?
Unincorporated area is any area not within city limits of city boundaries.
That'd be rural or.
It would be, it could be, yeah, so like, part of El Sobrante is in the city of Richmond, part is not in the city. So when I say unincorporated, it could, like Castro Valley is suburban, urban, that's unincorporated. So an unincorporated area is not dependent upon whether it's, good question, rural, suburban, or urban. It's just not in a city boundary. East LA, I think, is unincorporated. That's a pretty urban place, much of East LA, not all of it. There's some communities up in Sacramento, that looks just like the city of Sacramento. It just means it gets its services, municipal services through the county, like public works, police, fire, those kinds of things.
West Hollywood was the best example of that,
Yeah.
before they incorporated.
Yeah, so, and so, in our county, the largest unincorporated area is, I think, Bay Point, which is almost like the city of Pittsburgh, right? It's unincorporated, Alamo's unincorporated, El Sobrante, North Richmond.
Those ordinances have to be not only for all three of these.
They're for all, right, so when we pass an ordinance that covers planning in the unincorporated areas, it covers them all. Now, it applies differently for different zoning districts. And we've done certain things, like in Kensington, we created an overlay district where we have a view ordinance. If you build a home, we try to have you do it, we don't block a neighbor's view of the bay because of the topography. And so we had to create a special general plan zoning district for Kensington, so the ordinance only applies in Kensington. That's for a zoning ordinance.
So I think we have time for maybe one more question.
I have another question. So I foster animals.
Yeah.
I've fostered probably hundreds over the last 10, 20 years. This new director, is he or she going to do something about the horrible number of animals that are being euthanized every week out there in Martinez?
So we are working on that. Let me be really clear on that. We want to reduce euthanization rates. About, I think we're down to about 7% of the dogs that come in are euthanized. Which
Yeah,
is
and the cats are even higher.
Yeah,
But nobody
it's
talks
a
about
separate,
cats.
I'll have to check the number on that. I mean, we don't have the same state law responsibilities for cats as we do for dogs. Right? Different legal responsibilities for cats and dogs. So I'm just saying, right? I mean, so.
Because dogs.
No, I understand, but I'm just like, wow.
And let me say something else. We'll get the new animal service director to come. Under state law, cities are legally responsible for animal services for their state. And the county is responsible for getting appropriate. 18 of the 19 cities in this county contract with the county because it's cheaper. Antioch spent, let me give you a comparison. Richmond pays the county $1 million a year for animal services. Antioch is the same population. It spends $2 million a year. My point is, and we are subsidizing the cities, which we don't legally have to do, but we're doing. We would like to have the cities pay more because we could then do more. We can increase our shelter capacity, we can have more officers. The city councils and city managers don't want to do that because their budgets. I get it. We could say, city, you all deal with it, and all of a sudden we'll have to spend $2-3 million a year. Doesn't want to do that. It didn't like it when we increased their fee from 800,000 to $1 million over 2 years. So I think that's an ongoing issue, right, is getting funding to do more. We have an RFP out to do more free or low-cost spay neuters in west and east where the problem is more acute. So we set aside some money from our Measure X to spend more money to try to do spay and neuter, right?
Thought about having local clinics.
Yes. We're looking at that as part of the spay and neuter. Now, as you know, we did transfer the old Pinot shelter to Animal Fix Foundation. Well, let me give you the facts. They had to raise money first, do their improvement. They raised the money and they've been dealing with the city of Pinot building department for the last year. We're encouraging them to try to move that along because they want to now do the improvements and open it up for a low cost phase. not a shelter, but low-cost day neuter. So that was the agreement that they're supposed to do. They had to raise the money to do their project, they were expanding, and now they're dealing with the city of Canal building issues. So hopefully that will be one, but you're right, mobile, more of that, more adoption events, I think we're gonna address, hopefully our new shelter, our new animal service director, I think he's gonna work on these things.
So we'll look forward to seeing him.
Yeah, we'll have them come.
So one more.
One more broad question. Did the plan B, like if the park district doesn't agree to, pay for part of.
We'll have you call the East Bay Regional Parks Director and, I think it's Elizabeth Evans, and say, hey, Director Eccles, I'm optimistic they'll do something. Look, we're trying to get the most out of it. I think our new Public Works Director understands this and it is an issue. We're just trying to come up with some one-time money to do some fixing up so we can accept it. I think that's the.
Thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Yeah.
Well, let us know if we need to work on.
We will. I'll let you call Elizabeth when we need, if we don't want to do it yet, because they're cooperating, we're working with the park. But yeah, I mean, it's dealing with these special districts. In fact, I don't know, I actually spent yesterday over at East Bay Mud after a board, one of my former employees, who was my chief of staff, Luz Gomez, who got appointed.
That's why I recognize.
She Luz worked, she didn't handle El Sobrante, but she used to work for the health department, she worked in our office, she worked for the air district, she went back to the health department. She got appointed to the vacant East Bay Mud seat that it covers San Ramon Valley, Walnut Creek.
Yeah, that was a good thing.
So I think this was an excellent discussion. Many thanks for the detailed report. I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Great report. This.
For each step she took forward, she took 1,000 back. What she made.
You should involve Richmond, because remember, part of that's in Richmond, once you cross into the park. And I know, the people raise it on Saturday with the sheriff deputy, that would have been a good time to raise it when we had. Yeah, about the sheriff deputy, so I know you're gonna have some discussion, hopefully you don't need to talk about, it's like, hopefully, I may be here, may not, hopefully you don't have to talk about talk about that, right? So, there's nothing more to report on that until we get back to the park.
Will you be dropping by our police station?
Yeah, well, I got some speech, yeah.
Good.
And it's coming from farmer's market too.
Yeah, I will be there, and there's something else going on, the farmer's market, by the way, Richmond started a farmer's market at Marina Bay.
We know.
I live down
Are
there.
they coordinated? Are they on the same day? Are they at the same time?
It's on a Sunday.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's in the morning and it's different. It's a very different kind of market.
The hours
Sammy
don't
talked,
overlap
Sammy
at all.
talked to them.
But it goes till 2. Now, the big one that's successful that we issue a encroachment permit for is in Kensington. It's well established. It's been around for many years. It's from 10 or 9 to 2. But it draws people mostly from Berkeley, El Cerrito, Kensington. It's not gonna probably draw from the same geographic area. I will say, this is why I know you're working hard at making yours getting a permit from Department of Health. I don't think all the vendors had permits in Richmond's one.
Yeah.
I don't think they properly prepared it, because they're each supposed to have like a market. So I
But
think.
Sammy's talked to all those market people.
Good, yeah.
He's
I know.
talked to every
Yeah.
market runner around here.
Still want to compete with the Richmond farmers.
Yeah,
So,
well,
You're supposed to when to when?
well, before,
Yeah, that one is, what, 10 to 2?
yeah.
So
And there is different,
I think-
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
All
right.
that is fine, as long as there's
Right.
extension on
So-
each side.
So I think we can move to the next agenda item. Again, John,
Okay.
thank you so much, and
I'll
we'll
get around.
continue seeing you,
Yeah.
weighing in on the other items that come up.
Well, is that a good presentation up here?
Right, so our next presentation will be the Fire Protection District.
And I see her up there.
Hello, MAC board members. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Chair Lang, Vice Chair Cleveland, and MAC board members. First item I would like to provide you with is some information as you prepare for the wildfire season with the upcoming Fire preseason town halls. Events will be held throughout the county, one in each district. If you are unable to attend in person, we invite you to watch the event on our Fire Facebook page. The video will be posted on the day following each event. Topics will include prevention, planning, preparation, and response. In addition to allowing ample time for your questions, we will also be addressing how you can protect your home, family, and neighbors from wildfire danger. I look forward to seeing you and meeting each and every one of you. No RSVP is necessary. All are welcome. The closest event to your neighborhood will be held in Pinole on Saturday, May 11th from 10 to 11 a.m. at Fire Station 74 at 3700 Pinole Valley Road in the city of Pinole.
Yeah, please put that in the chat, please.
Okay, we'll do that. And the Fire Station open house will also occur concurrently with our preseason town hall from 10 to 2, where we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the contract between the service of Confire and the city of Pinole. Meet your local firefighters, explore different fire apparatus, bring the kids for fun activities, and learn to be wildfire ready for the 2024 fire season. The Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Program welcomes applicants specifically to our low-income exterior hazard control program. You may access this program and others by visiting our Contra Costa County Fire Perfection District website. This program allows for $1,500 to address Zone 0 defensible space projects. It does require last year's tax return to verify your income on a sliding scale. Please redact your Social Security number because it is not needed to determine eligibility. Wildfire mitigation and fuel reduction work continues with our Crew 12 at Powers Forestry, working on projects submitted by the public in our public web-based portal for the CCC Wildfire Mitigation Program. More information again can be found at www.cccfpd.org. If technology support is needed or if a resident needs additional help in identifying their mitigation project, please reach out to me. My phone number is 925-440-5831. I am here to support the residents as they identify their mitigation projects and the technology piece that goes along with it. Our Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break has completed almost 70 acres in the first 60 days. The contractor is chipping on site where they have access to a chipper. In limited access areas based on terrain, pile burning will start in April with the assistance of Crew 12. We are currently working on all the permits required for the pile burning process. So why am I sharing Lafayette Walnut Creek with your MAC meeting and residents? The progress on this project is being shared and will continue to be shared in subsequent meetings to help prepare your community for the planned East Richmond Heights Shaded Fuel Bank project. So if it is rewarded, you know what to expect. A map is available through Supervisor Joy's office. And again, I wish to thank Ronnie for his additional support. And we welcome feedback from the community directly affected by the Shaded Fuel Break and surrounding residents. Finally, just an update from our Bureau. We recently hired 2 new fire inspectors, which have been training under the supervision of our training captain, and we anticipate these personnel to be in the field in mid-April. With that, I am open to your questions.
Any questions? Thank you so much for the presentation. Any questions from the council?
Thank you so much for sharing that very dense amount of information with us. I'm wondering, it sounds like you may have been reading from something, and I was wondering whether you would be willing to share that with us, because I couldn't possibly write everything down to share with my neighbors.
Oh, of course, Sue. I'll send everything over to you. I do have notes that I refer to, and I want to just be very slow and methodical in the presentation of the information. So yes, I go into my presentation voice, but it does sound like I'm reading because I'm aware that people are trying to make notes. So I just try to slow down, and I'm sorry if that sounds very automated. I'd be happy to email the information to you for your meeting minutes.
We badly want it. We have a fire-wise community that is very keen to make sure that our neighborhoods will be protected. So, we want this information, but
it was a bit confusing, so thank you.
That's great. So as you develop your Firewise strategic plan, so that's for people who don't know, Firewise Communities established a strategic plan, which identifies a year-by-year plan for 3 consecutive years to identify and impact the community in a very profound way. That said, to begin your Firewise community, it takes at least 8 residents, but has the capacity to hold up to 2,500 residents. So Firewise just allows us to be on point with messaging and assist you through the Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Program with your strategic plan. So providing wraparound services for each project identified, again, on a year-by-year basis. So thanks to Sue and your Firewise community for taking fuel reduction seriously, and please let me know how I can further support your community.
Thank you. Further questions from the council? If there are no further questions from the council, anybody from the community have a question for Contra Costa Fire? Okay.
Anybody online, by the way, I believe the presentation is being given by Michelle Reinhardt, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not listed on here or on there.
Nothing in the chat.
Who is that disembodied voice?
Oh, I promise I'm coming to your MAC meeting in person.
We're gonna think you're artificial intelligence or something.
Oh no, I'm juggling meetings that happen to fall on the same evening. So my in-person meetings from place to place, it just, for me to go from meeting to meeting, I would be late, and I think that would be insultive to the MAC board members.
So much for your presentation tonight. It was extremely informative, and again, please be sure to post any relevant details to the chat so that people can pull them off as necessary.
Sharing now. Thank you, Chair.
So we can move to the next item, which is the Contra Costa Sheriff's Office update.
I'd like to speak about that if I could, because they're not here.
Well,
Maybe.
are we sure about that?
No, I'm not. Jamar Stamps is with the
Planning.
planning. Okay.
Okay.
So, this is for Ronnie and for John. You know, they've changed leadership. This is the second meeting where the person hasn't been here and the person's new, the lieutenant. It would be very helpful if the individual would come to the meetings and at least speak first.
Right.
And we're used to having them here, giving us all.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just say, we had a lieutenant and 4 deputies spend 3 hours here on Saturday morning.
Okay.
So be clear, with 40 people, and they were very, lots of answers, very, so we'll let them know. The person who's the lieutenant, who's head of base station, is still temporary. I'm not sure if it's going to be permanent.
Okay.
But he was very knowledgeable, very helpful. I don't know if he may become permanent, but he does other things as well.
Okay.
We had all the sheriff deputies here from the whole area. We'll make sure they're here. We'll double check.
They're on the emails that go out the Friday before and the morning of, so,
Clarify when
yeah.
they can, when they can't, but
He
they,
might not know.
yeah.
I guess he might not know.
Okay, we'll follow. But yeah, they were here all morning, Saturday morning,
Well, that's
like
good.
5 of them, 4 of them.
So if we don't have representatives from the sheriff's office or the highway patrol, maybe we can move to the 5th item, which is the active transportation program presentation. We have Ryan Bird here.
Can everyone see that? That's in the,
Oh, I can see
Online.
it on my, yeah. I can
Okay.
see it.
great.
This is why I do this. I can be his sort of fail safe. This is what this looks like in Zoom. It looks crappy, or it looks great. This is
Right. We got it. Great.
You're probably going to full screen.
do you have a pointer or?
Oh, I can, I got it. I'll run it for you.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, so hello, everybody. I'm here to present to you a grant opportunity from the Active Transportation Program for a project here on Appian Way. So the next slide, please. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Hurd. I'm a staff engineer at Contra County Public Works and Transportation Area Division. And this is my colleague, Chris Hanford. Yeah, slide please. Quick agenda for the meeting. First, we're going to talk about what the active transportation program is and a little bit of background on it and the project. Then we're going to jump into the proposed grant application submittal and what the specific improvements on that being laid, how we're going to do for the project. And then we're going to get into the next steps for the county and how we are going to continue to get this grant submitted. And then we'll open it up for some feedback and question and answer at the end. So, active transportation program was signed by Governor Brown in 2013, and the active transportation program wants to increase the use of active transportation modes by achieving the following goals. So, portion of trips by biking and walking, the safety of those people that are biking and walking is increased, reducing greenhouse gas emissions by encouraging people to use bikes or transit while walking, and enhancing public health by just getting people more active in their community instead of driving their car everywhere. So Caltrans is the administrator of this ATP grant program, which is now on its 7th round. Typically, ATP grant opportunity comes around every 2 years. So local word funding construction will be 29-23. Next. A little background on the project. The project name is going to be Appian Way Pedestrian Improvements Project. Quick one-sentence description: we construct pedestrian enhancements at 5 uncontrolled crosswalks along Appian Way and replace existing substandard sidewalks. So I'm going to go over the locations real quick. The red boxes are the locations, and the black boxes are going to be local libraries, apartment complexes, schools, things where people would be walking or biking from frequently. So location 1 is just right outside here at Appian and Garden Road. This is the only location where there does not, a crosswalk does not currently exist. So as part of this project, we've taken a crosswalk across Appian Way at Garden Road and some enhancements that come with it. Location 2 at Appian and Santa Rita Road, there is a crosswalk there, so we'll just be making some enhancement to it. And the same location 3 at Appian and Pebble, we'll be just making some more enhancements there. Next slide, please. For reference, I've included location 3 again. This is the second half of the project. Location 4, Appian at Richmond Road, and then location 5, Appian at Argyle Road, up there. I wanted to point out that if you know Appian well, you probably know there's another uncontrolled location at Appian and Fran there at the bottom. That project or that crosswalk is not part of this project because it has already received funding from different grants to have improvements to it, and that will be constructed next year in 2025. So because of that, we don't need to include in this project, and we'll see that next year. Good. Next slide, please. So prior to grant applicant submittal, we did submit this same project in cycle 6 in 2022, but it was not awarded. We were very close. The cutoff score is about 90. We received an 88 on application. So we're just going to be making a few tweaks to this to hopefully get over that mark and receive the funding for this. So changes in cycle 6 we're going to make. County staff reached out to the granting agency, received feedback and refined approach. We do this every time we don't receive funding on a grant application. We will reach out to them and say, what can we do to improve? How can we get our score up a little bit so we can get more points? So a few of those points is we're going to be increasing outreach to local businesses in the area to make sure that they're up to speed on our improvements and that they approve and that they want to see them. And then we'll also make some slight tweaks to the side and some crosswalk improvements. So next slide, please. So I'm going to go through each location now, and we're going to see the exact improvements that will be done at each crosswalk. So on the left side, you're going to see a picture of what it looks like now. On the right, it's going to be a simple drawing of what we will be proposing in that area. So before we continue, I'm going to point out a few of the terms here, so to explain them a little bit, because they're going to see them pretty much at every single location. The enhancements will be some variation of the same thing. So the first one there, we have pull out. That's just a curb extension that will extend into the street on each side. That'll help narrow the street. Cars will slow down when they're going through. Those curb extensions will not impact the bike lanes in any way. So the current bike infrastructure on Appian Way will not be impacted in any way. It'll remain the same. The red symbols there are RRBs, or rapid rectangular flashing beacons. Those you've probably seen around. The pedestrian will hit a button on the side and they'll light up, alerting vehicles that a pedestrian is about to enter the roadway or is already in there. So hopefully they will slow down when they see that. We have a median island in the middle. That'll act as a pedestrian refuge for when pedestrians are crossing the street. Appian Way is Happy Way is very,
Busy.
it's very busy and the crosswalks are very long, so there's a lot of time for pedestrian to walk across the street without having any refuge, so the median island will help with that. And then last thing, truncated domes and curb ramps will be installed at any area where you're entering the roadway, so visually impaired users can use the road safely and you can enter the roadway smoothly on a curb ramp. So next slide, please. Happy Way at Santa Rita Road, there exists a crosswalk there right now. We're making some improvements to it, similar to that we did at Garden Road. We're shifting it over just a little bit, but we'll make the same exact improvements as we were in the previous one. Next slide, please. Happy Way at Pebble Drive. This one, the crosswalk exists there already as well. We will not be including a median island in these improvements just because the configuration of this intersection and the single left turn lane will be feasible. So no median island, but RFPs, full bounce, curb ramps also being included. Next slide. Location 4, Appian at Lincoln Road, very similar to the Pebble Drive one. The configuration doesn't lend itself to a median island in the middle, but with the curb extensions and the rest of the improvements, there should still be increased pedestrian safety and a shortened amount of distance between the two sides of the street. Next slide, please. Appian Way at Argyle Road. This one is right outside the El Sobrante Christian School. So in order to make the most safe improvements to this crosswalk, we're going to shift it over so we can include a median island in the middle. So when students are crossing the street, they will have a place of refuge when they cross. This one doesn't really include curb extensions, and that's due to the tightness of this road compared to the rest of the Appian Way. If we were to do some blowouts and go to the shoulder, and it could disrupt some biking that goes on there, and just impede the roadway. So we didn't want to do that. So just a median island, please. Next slide, please. Proposed grant application. So this is just going to recap some of the things that the improvements that we're making at the intersections, bulb outs that narrow the lanes, median lines to pedestrian refuge, rapid retaining flashing beacons in both directions to alert drivers if someone in the intersection, American Disabilities Act ADA compliant ramps. So all users can use the road equally, and then sidewalk improvements and additions where necessary in the immediate vicinity of the crosswalks. Next slide. So outreach and support. In addition to surveying local residents and businesses on an Appian Way, the county will reach out to the following entities for that support. You guys at the MAC, District 1 Supervisor, Joy's office, West County Unified School District, and then those 4 schools. And the reason those 4 schools is their sphere of enrollment includes Appian Way. So presumably students would be using Appian Way some way to walk or back to school, and we will reach out to them with other support. Additionally, AC Transit, there's a lot of bus stops in the vicinity of these crosswalks, so we want to make sure that we relocate any bus stops that are on board, and we're not messing up their bus routes by putting things in the road where they can't bring on. So next slide. Next steps. So kind of looking to gather community input on the project, surveys and flyers and other things will probably appear in the next few weeks on Appian Way. So go and fill those out. You can see them walking down the road. Upon receiving feedback and design input, county staff will investigate feasibility of revisions and revise the project scope as necessary. As we do that over the next 2 months, we'll be able to submit this application on June 17th, 2024. Please, and now I'd like to open up for any feedback or questions.
Okay, well, this sounds like a great project, and I think those beacons are really gonna be helpful. I've crossed Appian Way many times there, and I've always felt like it's gonna be like, Melinda, your question?
Yeah, so I take it that Franway was taken out of there. Can you tell me why? Because one of the members of my church, her husband and dog were killed at Franway in that
That was the
crosswalk.
main, so the other grant application or the other grant programs have a really big emphasis on collisions at certain intersections. And the reason that one was chosen is because of that collision and other, those fatalities really, they up the score for them on the grant applications. So when we applied, we recognized that one crosswalk.
So one way we could raise our score would be for somebody to get killed on Appian Way.
Yeah.
Got it.
That is why you would.
So you didn't want to keep Franway?
It would have been included on this if it hadn't received funding, but we started for earlier and we were able to make this.
It's already
Got it.
funded.
No,
That's truly the dark side of MAC meetings.
sorry, I just couldn't, I had to ask because I haven't noticed that Franway's gotten better.
Next
Do we
year.
know when they're gonna do that work?
Yeah, 2025 construction season, so next year.
Okay.
It's currently in the design phase. Yes.
Is there any, when you're talking about the school districts, trying to get schools to encourage kids and parents to walk to school? Sounds like it's a chicken and egg kind of situation. It needs to be safe before kids can reasonably walk to school. Is that something that's sort of an ongoing thing with Public Works, and what can we do to increase that number?
Yeah, that's part of the transportation engineering division is outreach. And we will go to these schools and post our flyers and surveys about them, so they will be aware of the project. And even as the project is developed, we'll be going there to educate the students and staff about that. But hopefully they will encourage them to use that. But the part of it is we will be with these improvements, we hope that people see them and then just able to walk to school more often than they were not. So they feel more safe walking in school.
Are scooters in terms of what scooters classify as, how do they kind of fit into this whole thing? Are they classified as bicycles, cars? Or just vehicles?
That's a great question. I've heard that asked. I think that people are still kind of working on this. I think they have to follow the rules of the road. And I think they're allowed in the bike lanes. They're not allowed on this pedestrians on a sidewalk because they're roll like a side on a bicycle. I did want to address your last question though about the active transportation program. That's the kind of thing they're really looking for, is to generate the desire to walk. And when we do projects like this, it is taking kind of a latent demand of people that want to be out there doing it and make it safer for them. And you brought up the schools. That's a good point. People from the schools could be that chicken that brings in that egg with people walking.
And it's going to also be about public safety, I think, particularly about the safety of the children walking along Appian Way. In addition to the traffic safety, there's also going to be a perception.
This too at 5166 Sobrante Avenue.
Yeah.
We're at one end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Safety is one of the aspects of that transportation program. And as you heard from the other grant that we also had, there was also a big safety component to that as well. It's to get people active, and people will be more active if they feel safer.
Other questions?
Access to the slides? Do we have access to the slides?
Yeah, you can post this.
Yeah, it'll be in the newsletter that goes out later this week.
Okay.
So are there any further questions for the active transportation presentation?
And if we could maybe stop sharing so that folks online, anybody on the Zoom have any questions for the planning group?
Not in the chat.
Not in the chat, no one has their hand raised. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, so now we are in the part of the meeting where we talk about development plan applications, variance reports, etc. And the first item is county file number CDSE 24-3. So this is approved administrative approval of a new beauty salon in an existing building. So this building is it's a strip mall in across and Pablo Dam from Udo restaurant. And if you look at, I think it's maybe a few stores east of the One Plant dispensary. So
Label is closed now.
What is?
One plant.
well, that's a different issue, but at any rate, what they wanted to do is convert one of the stores in that strip mall to a beauty salon. I see no problems with it, so I motion to approve. The second, okay, call vote. All right, approved. Matt is.
Are you the ones? Yeah. All that for us to just say yes.
Well, I have a question for him. Where exactly in that strip mall are you planning?
¿Dónde está la tienda?
Oh, en la dirección. ¿Por dónde está el caliente?
Ah, cerca del caliente.
La señora cerca de María.
¿Y
Frente de Unidas. Sí.
cuáles de los negocios están reemplazando?
El beauty salon que queremos poner.
¿Y
Ya.
dónde va?
frente
¿Hay un negocio que está ahí ahora?
ya tenemos el local.
Oh, ya tienen.
locación.
Ok.
Ya nos aprobaron el permiso.
Sí.
Ya.
Bueno, que tengan muchísima suerte
Gracias.
y bienvenidos.
Cerca de Precious Nails.
Sí.
So,
Perfecto.
bueno, muchas gracias para venir a la reunión y felicitaciones. So I think we can, it looks like the variance for the 0-foot fence has been Xed out of the agenda.
We're gonna put it for next month. Yeah.
Okay, so now we can get to the prime course of the evening. The Clark Roads issues discussion, and I believe one of the neighbors had a presentation to make. Or
Presentation,
lead it.
yeah, I wanted.
You want to summarize the issue?
Summary, yeah.
Please introduce yourself
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
go ahead and tell us about Clark Road.
Right, yeah. Good evening, my name is Larry Chang, and I've been a resident on Clark Road at 3980 Clark since 2015. And I want to thank Supervisor Joya for his recent efforts and the summary that he gave us earlier about the progress being made on the negotiations. And the purpose here is to highlight some important facts and details that I hope will be useful to the county and any others who are involved in ensuring that this goes forward. These issues were first brought to the attention of public agencies back in 2011. So this has been a long haul. And after 13 years, I'm hoping that we finally turn the corner and find a sensible solution here. Okay. But fact number one, although some refer to our end of Clark, past Jana Vista, as a private road, all of Clark was designated a public street in 1910, according to a final report for the state Superior Court. Okay. Number two, the Wildcat Canyon Community School campus located at 3800 Clark was once owned by the former Sheldon School District and West Contra Costa Unified, both public school districts. It is unlikely that a public school would ever be located on a private road. Point three, in 1957, our county board of supervisors accepted ownership of a 10-foot wide strip of land running along the west edge of Clark. The Sheldon School District donated the land expressly for road improvements, but to date, the county has left it untouched. Number four, hopefully you've all had a chance to go out and see Clark Road for yourself, walk along it. It poses a serious public safety hazard in its current condition. Pedestrians and vehicles might be harmed due to the potholes and crumbling asphalt. But the road does also continue to deteriorate badly during the winter rainstorms due to lack of proper drainage within or near the 10-foot wide strip owned by the county. And five, to reiterate what Supervisor Joya highlighted earlier regarding East Bay Regional Parks in 1976, they were required by CEQA to file an environmental impact study. And the study, which was written by the Park District, including a very glaring contradiction. It stated that the entire paved length of Clark up to the school was maintained by the county. And as a result, City of Richmond permitted the Park District to develop its trail, which continues to draw visitors and more vehicular traffic, thus more wear and tear than what might be expected for a typical dead end street. And hopefully, these all going to reinforce the notion that it really is unfair to force a handful of private property owners to assume the burden of maintaining Clark for the benefit of the public. And now our community of property owners, neighbors, and friends would like to submit a petition, which I have here, with over 140 signatures to this effect. We're asking all public agencies involved to be accountable for their missteps or mistakes, even those occurring almost 50 years ago or longer. It's not too late to make things right. And here is a copy of the petition along with the signatures. And Ronnie, should I read that?
You
to
should give it
or-
to our office,
Mhm.
the MAC.
Okay.
Yeah, give it to Ron.
Yeah, for us.
Okay, sure.
So what I was thinking is maybe if there are other neighbors in the area who wanted to weigh in after Mr. Chang.
Hello.
Go ahead.
My name is Lauren Morgan, and I have lived on Elmwood Road for about 22, 23 years now. And I frequently use Clark Road, you know, I'm walking kids up when they were young, and I still frequently bicycle up Clark Road to the open space to go up there. And the road is, as already stated, it just really, it's just gotten worse, and it's very difficult to navigate.
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Hey, my name is Stacy Palinka, and I'm speaking on behalf of Wildcat Canyon Community School. So I wanted to thank Supervisor. Okay, thank you for the efforts that you've done to bring this project to light with the Parks District, and I really hope that that all goes through as planned. I'm still going to just read what I prepared for today as a just a clarification of the school's position on the matter, and as president of the Circle of Trustees at the school, which that's the position I hold there. I'm a longtime resident of El Sobrante, and my daughter has been at school for 8 years. So the main entrance, as you know, to the school is at the end of Clark Road, and it's definitely accessed by many of our parents bringing children to school every day over this very difficult portion of the road. Wildcat Canyon Community School is a Waldorf-inspired nonprofit organization, and it provides pre-K to middle school education services to the local community. We honor the child's natural phases of learning and ignite the spark of individuality in each child, developing a lifelong commitment to learning, creativity, and social responsibility. We're committed to dynamic governance by the teachers and cooperative community leadership, an economic model that values people over money, and uplifting social, racial, and land justice in all domains. Apart from our faculty and a few administrative staff, the school is run exclusively by parent volunteers. Without the generosity of our community, we would not have the school. Tuition is our primary means of providing for all of our expenses. In a commitment to staying true to our values, our tuition is structured on an equitable sharing of resources. This approach allows families to request a rate of tuition that's in line with their ability to pay. So it's basically like financial aid, that it's self-determined. There's no application process. Every family chooses what they'd like to pay. Almost 70% of our families are able to afford tuition that is only at least 30% below the true cost of educating a child. Only 7% of the families are able to afford the tier reflective of the true cost. Given our inspiration to provide education to families that otherwise would not be able to afford it, our financial future heavily relies on volunteer work of our families. So we're aggressively pursuing many grant opportunities. We haven't had a lot of success so far. We have aging infrastructure. We have a large acreage that needs a lot of maintenance and a lot of resources to maintain. We don't have these resources. Every expense we have is looked at as a potential scholarship for a child that would otherwise not be able to attend our school, or an investment into our teachers with living wages, which is a glimpse of an opportunity that could blossom into something way beyond the original investment. So we're asking the County Public Works Department and East Bay Regional Parks to come together and find a permanent solution to fully repairing the currently unmaintained portion of the Clark Road, as well as implementing a long-term operations and maintenance activities. In an ideal situation, we would be able to fund in part or in whole the repair and upkeep of the road. It's just not financially feasible for us now or at any point in the foreseeable future. Thank you very much for letting me speak with you again today, and thank you again, John.
Yeah. Let me get your phone number. I emailed you about trying to talk to you. Send me your phone number.
Sure, my phone number, just, I can email it to you.
Yeah, I give my email.
And my other fellow trustee, Vika, is here on Zoom, she's been.
Oh, I think I
in touch
emailed
with you as
Vika.
well.
Yeah, I emailed Vika to talk before the meeting, but I don't think I heard back.
Right, yeah. And other fellow trustee, Holly, is here to speak as well.
Sure, if needed, I mean, the issue is really clear, but,
So if you feel like, what you wanted to say has already been said, that's fine.
yeah, I'll add one detail.
Oh,
if that's
okay, sure.
Yeah, just to be clear, since we're here, the school is intending to rematriate a portion of the land to Segoria Tate Land Trust. So we have that letter of intent over to them. It's the portion of the land that was donated to the school when it was East Bay Waldorf School. So we've been in communication with them just so that.
So one question that the county had was whether you were proposing to do any further development of the site of the land that you've been given, but you don't intend to do that.
No, it's not really allowed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and in terms of, do you know what the plans of the land trust are for the property?
To rematriate the land and once the title is transferred to Segoria Tate Land Trust, you're asking what they plan to do
Yes,
with it?
right,
Yeah, no development plans.
right. Do you-
Right.
Any idea? I know it's unlike land that's put into trust through the federal government. When
Right,
you put land, as you know, when you put land into trust for the federal government, like the El San Pablo Casino, local government doesn't have any zoning authority, but this land, even though you're putting it in trust with them,
correct,
it's not through the Department of Interior's process.
correct.
So that means anything they do would be subject to local zoning.
Right,
Yeah.
they're a private land trust, not a
Right,
public land
right,
trust,
right.
which is what he's pointing out. And so, no plans for any casino development.
Could do that, that's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about
No,
that.
I don't think it would be that, but I mean, the other, but
Scrappy,
yeah,
right?
any idea what they want to do with this, with the property?
They wanna maintain the
Got
land, yeah, they wanna maintain the land, which hasn't been tended to in
Got
a
it.
long time, but say the Richmond Hills certainly
Right,
has protected the land.
Right.
Which they're well aware of, so there's a blog post on our school website about the rematriation.
Okay, great.
That I authored, so you can go
Great.
and find more
Thanks.
information there.
I can forward that to you as well.
Yeah, that'd be great, thanks.
Yeah, so just wanted to have that be a part of, the schools.
So, thank you so much, and I was thinking if there are any more statements from neighbors regarding the, the Clark Road issues, we could gather those, and then if not, discuss in the council. I know George had a comment, but are there any
Here's the
further?
picture of the Crocodile Clark Road.
Yeah.
Does it look like a park?
Yeah, that's.
Which we filled at the beginning of the school year, we
I know.
filled all the potholes,
So-
just the school did.
So is there anybody on the Zoom that wants to weigh in on Clark Road? I don't think you're, okay,
It's nothing in the chat.
okay.
All right, go ahead, George.
Well, I guess my thing for the question, okay, what are you asking of the MAC?
We're asking the MAC to endorse full public ownership and maintenance of Clark Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and just also, since Supervisor Joy had also mentioned Elizabeth Eccles, I just also wanted to share that I had met with her, I think it was in 2021 once. And we spoke about follow-up, it never happened. And I think that without finding that kind of key error in their environmental report, I don't think they'd even be willing to talk with us, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
So, would members of the MAC be amenable to a letter of support from the MAC for Mr. Chang's?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
statement?
And I just would like to add specifically that I really appreciate the amount of work you've done to do all the historic, I mean, back to 1910 is pretty impressive. So thanks for doing that because, out here in unincorporated / Richmond / East Bay, I mean, it gets complicated. And you did a lot of legwork that set Supervisor Joya up well to go negotiate. Because I think you're right, you opened the door and he's fortunately walking through it.
Your research on the environmental analysis was new information that I don't think I had had about their initial analysis about assuming the county may.
Yeah, and at least, I'm not aware that there was any correspondence between East Bay Regional and County Public Works. I mean, if they have any internal memos, I guess they're not legally obligated to share them with the public.
So I know this is a little weird, but I think we could write a letter of support, and I would like to attach your points with all those dates, because they're very specific. In, as maybe
So-
back page of it, this was the presentation we heard, and these are the things that.
So here's what I suggest. I'd be happy to write such a letter on behalf of the MAC. Maybe you and I could briefly communicate. You can highlight some of these key items that should go into it. And I'll write it on MAC stationery and send it to Supervisor Choi's office. So that way you have kind of acknowledgement that the MAC for your points and that we're in agreement. Is everybody, is that okay with you?
I think all that detail is helpful.
Should we take like a formal vote about this?
I think we should.
All in favor?
I,
All in favor?
it's very helpful because I always thought until recently that there's a change in the pavement right at Jenna Vista.
Oh, you don't know.
And I thought, the county, it's actually the county stops here, and it's Richmond from that point forward, and that's not the case. So, okay, it's good, we're doing the research to learn.
I have your.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd also like to invite your school to participate in our Earth Day event.
Thank you.
Can I put it in our school bulletin?
Of course, and here's some postcards for the parents if they wanna.
Can I mark the farmers market on your radar?
And the other thing we do is we encourage people to adopt an area near their property, near their schools, to pick up litter and just raise the consciousness for the kids as well.
Sue had her hand
Thank
raised.
you.
Yeah, I'm concerned about fire access up Clark Road with the coming fire season, because the potholes are big enough that a wide truck going up there in a hurry could be really awful. And the other thing is that we have a fair amount of crime that. Well, it's not me, honestly, I live over the other side. I'll just look at them.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So,
By the time this happens, you'll be in Yorkshire and state.
But, you know, emergency vehicles going up there quickly, it really is an enormous, potential for accidents up there. So I'm hoping that this can move quickly. I'm not sure where I would bring up some issues around the fire reduction ordinance along the riparian creek of Clark Road, which is privately owned. And I'm not sure how to bring that up. I have written to your office about this.
So we're spending about $4.5 million a year of Measure X funds for a program to do vegetation management on public lands and
But this is not
grants
public.
to private property owners to get money for vegetation. And we have a portal where the private property owner can apply, and then the fire district looks at the proposal. So who's the private property owner?
A guy called Jack Sung, but he has been unresponsive
Yeah, so
for the past 4
the
years.
best thing is if they can apply to get funding to do clearing of vegetation on their property, Sue. And if it violates a fire code, they can be ordered to do it. I don't know if it violates, usually if it's overgrowth, we'd have to fire folks. Most of that's most likely something where, again, we're making funding available for private property owners to do this. And I don't know the best way we can encourage this person to apply for these funds.
We've
And-
tried, they're unresponsive.
And it's a creek,
It's
so it might be fish and wildlife.
Yeah.
Well, but they own the creeks on their property.
But aren't there rules about what you can and can't do on a creek?
Yeah, Fishing Game regulates it, Fish
Yeah.
and Wildlife, but they're not the property owners, so.
But they might be able to get his attention.
The question, if they violate some fire code, the fire can issue like a code enforcement letter, that's how the best way then to follow up, maybe have fire, I don't know if they're still on,
I'm still here.
Yeah, what would you suggest on this? And maybe if we provide the location of whether our fire inspectors can go out and determine whether or not the vegetation growth is sufficient that warrants an enforcement.
Thank you, Supervisor Joya. I will provide the link in the chat as to where residents can make a formal complaint about a property. And I will also include that in the follow-up email to MAC member Bordeaux. And then additionally, thank you, Supervisor Joya, for speaking so eloquently about the Contra Costa Wildfire Mitigation Program. We have completed 3 community chipping days in and around Clark Road since I joined in July. So that work has been completed and is ongoing. If residents identify a date and organize another community chipping event to address vegetation, we are happy to support that ongoing process. And I know that your office has been very supportive of the mitigation program. And so, yes, in kind, please let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much. It has been something that has really been stressing my neighbors and I out over the last few years.
Well, I hope to review and reduce the stress. Again, each project is evaluated by a member of the badged service, a member of the fire service, and each project is evaluated based in fire science. I am not a badged member of the service, but any way that I can assist in identifying the project, providing maps, entering it into the website portal, I'll be happy to assist any residents who needs additional support.
So, I think we have kind of an outcome for the discussion of Clark Road. There's something you wanted to point out, Ronnie? Oh, okay. We're kind of in this intense stare.
Oh,
so I was
I'm
thinking you were.
intently listening.
Oh, okay. All right, so I think now that we have this outcome for Clark Road discussion, we can go to the next item, information reports by MAC members. So I'll just add one really super item to the subcommittee reports. Yeah, so I also am a member of the COA, which is the Area Committee on Aging. And I'm on the health working group for that committee. And one of the things I do as a member of that group is give presentations on osteoporosis at senior centers. And giving one on May 8th at the San Ramon Community Center, and then one later in October in Lafayette. But if anybody here has a collection, you know, a group of seniors who might benefit from a brief sort of layman's talk about osteoporosis, please feel free to contact me. My email is on the MAC website. So, yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. And if are there any?
Maybe you could do that later. Is that something you could do there? That would be good.
Yeah. I mean, I put together this presentation. It's just sort of sitting there in a folder on my computer. It's pretty easy to do. So. Okay, so we can go to, I think.
I have a couple announcements.
All right.
If the subcommittee-
All right, why don't we?
Yeah.
Be a MAC,
That's.
an information report. Go
Well,
ahead, Dr.
it's
McLean.
also, so George and I are on the El Sobrante Pride Committee.
Yes, we are.
And so we decided that June 9th was just not gonna happen for us. And that the Saturday after the stroll is going to be our new time for Pride. And so those of you who have been holding June 9th on a Saturday, and it's not your Saturday, and it's in the afternoon.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely 100% sure.
That got postal cleanup day.
It's September.
Which actually is Mickey Saturday, but we're going to do our stuff
But we're in the afternoon.
we're gonna start around 1 at the earliest.
Okay, but normally we have a postal cleanup day event that goes till 2.
Well, then we'll start at 2.
What day are you talking about?
Saturday, September 21st is the date we're talking about right now. And we're working now on making sure we can get Cheese Park, because we still want to stick with Cheese Park.
So I can do it here.
Because it's not remotely big enough.
Okay.
It's not well suited for what we want to do.
Yeah, I don't think, John, I don't think you want us to try to put a DJ in there, do you?
What's wrong with that?
Well,
Library?
it's,
Outside?
anyway, Cheese Park is better for what we have in mind. So, especially because we're gonna do an animal show. Because I want to do dykes and their dogs. I'm sorry. Dykes and dogs is gonna happen. And then the farmer's market, everybody knows, April 21st, 12 to 4 in front of the Good Table site. It's gonna be fantastic. A lot of vendors, if you subscribe to our blog, you got a list of some of the great vendors that are coming. Nearly all, if not all, are queer, trans, BIPOC, immigrant, or woman-owned vendors. So that's pretty cool. Good food, coffee, you can have a meal. And we're working with local other businesses, such as the Up and Under is gonna do like a special where you can show your veggies and get a drink special after the market. So we think this is gonna be very fun. So,
Can I ask a question?
yes, you may.
Is there at any other of the farmers markets, is there support that the farmers can get when they travel so far, not knowing if they're gonna make the sales that they might need to make that day? Is there any program that provides support to farmers?
I'm unaware of that, but you know, there is a farmers market association, and Chris Hall is very active in that. He's head of the one. He would know. I think it's a good question.
Sam is in that association.
Because the farmers market association, I think, you know, wants to support like small farms, minority-owned farms that, you know, are taking risks going to different places. So it's a good, we don't have public money, but it's a good question to raise the association. And so I think the next time I see Chris, I'll ask him about that, and hopefully Sam should talk to Chris about that as well.
Yeah.
And the good news is if we all show up and we buy from them, then, hey,
Will do, and also we'll end up in the meantime, until public funding comes through, we'll have our nonprofits try to support.
Will do.
Library Ecology Commons is considering,
yeah,
doing stipends to the farmers, to support.
perfect. And one last little bit about this, if you wanted, because this is gonna be our very first one. If you wanted to come earlier at say 10 o'clock before it opens and you have good backs and are willing to help move things, we could use kind of all hands on deck, especially the first time we set it up. I mean, once we kind of get it organized, then we'll kind of know, but if you're willing to come a little early and help set it up, we could use some volunteers. Okay.
Are you putting these up anyway?
We have been putting these up around town. You've probably seen one here. That's where I found the fence was cut so that they can get down by the creek. And several other places, because Terry Edlinger came and helped me put these puppies up. So, if you guys want to fire, feel free to pick them.
All right, so that's great news. Looking forward to the farmer's market. Hopefully some delicious things will be available soon.
Wonderful.
Yes. So subcommittee reports, I know Mick's active in life right now.
Okay, so our next third Saturday is Earth Day. Everybody's invited. It's gonna be, should be a great event. There, we've got a lot of promotion happening around it, so we'll see how many people actually show up, but it's from 9:30 to noon. We'll have our community cleanup. We'll have areas that people can pick up litter. We have all the equipment people need, vests, grabbers, trash bags, buckets, and locations for people to do that. So come at 9:30, sign in, sign a waiver. We'll give you the equipment and bring it back, and then we'll give you food. So we're gonna have some pizza and some other food and donated food by the Punjabi Kitchen.
That stuff is good.
Excited. Yeah, they had samosas and pakoras last time.
It was very
so good. And then from 12 to 1, we have a special musical presentation by Ashiba, who specializes in children's programs, but it's going to be for all ages, a musical presentation. He's a Calypso Caribbean musician. It should be very fun. And then we'll have info tables from community nonprofits that are in the area. Unfortunately, we can't have businesses there to sell or promote their products, but we can have the nonprofits that are doing good work in the area. And that'll be happening from about 11:30 to 2 when it ends. And at 1 o'clock is when we'll probably have our speakers, John, so you know when to come. Yeah, and from 12 to 1 is the music. So after that, we'll have the speakers there too. And so we hope you get a good turnout. So please help us spread the word and show up with as many people as we can get, so we can really make our town sparkling clean. We'll see. We've already made a big improvement because there are people who are doing this now, but if we just encourage as many people as possible. So that's our regular third Saturday, and then the next one will be in May. So hopefully you'll come and have some fun and learn about what Earth Day is and what people are doing here and making a difference in our town. Anybody else have something to say?
Well, I'd say two things. One is that we're gonna be, yeah, thanks for that report, Mickey. We are gonna be redoing the, resources side of the postcard for Third Fridays. And you mentioned it, you alluded to that before, but
Yeah.
so anybody who has any suggestions, we're not gonna have any more space though, remember? So a suggestion of adding a bunch of more stuff, we can only go so far with that. But reworking stuff is easier. And the other thing is that we've we're working on the planners now. The weather's getting better. We expect to see more happen to the planners, making them look better, including moving them around. And the last thing would be that there's an effort underway, spearheaded by Ramon, to go ahead and start removing graffiti and stuff. Yeah, they're doing that today. So they're trying to clean off the landfills and stuff like that.
So do you all know about that yellow sign on Appian as it comes from? Well, I can tell you about a sign where people keep painting swastika in yellow. So only when it's reflected, does it show up? Yeah, and it's right by us on Sobrante. I have to show you where it is. If you all have the right stuff to clean it up, we need to have a conversation.
Or just
We
paint
need
it
to
so
check
that
it.
it.
Painted so you can't see it in daylight, but people have seen it at night. I mean, that's just devious.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll have to show you, I think, because I can't quite describe it, but I know where it is.
At the farmer's market.
One more
Yeah.
thing I want to say about the Earth Day is that we have for the first time vests and grabbers for little children. And that makes a big difference to them because it makes them feel really.
I was just gonna say something when John walked up. Which had to do with the other efforts for beautification, because we are prevented from, he wanted to paint all the lampposts.
Oh, no.
And
it won't
they
let you do
said
that.
that we're waiting to hear, I guess, from the county public works, what the deal is on painting that. And also utility boxes to add some artwork on those. But I think there's some policy we're waiting on.
Well, you know that. Well, my understanding through Nicole is that they are, again, we're in this unincorporated whole.
Yeah.
They've decided that they need an entire, they have no policy for the unincorporated area for public art. None, zero, let alone encouraging public art. They don't even have a policy.
Yeah.
So that's where we fell into the hole of not being able to do the mural in the library, even though we found funding and everything. So, we can do public art on private property, but we can't. So we can't even go and paint the AT&T boxes if we want to. So they're apparently working on that. I have no idea how long it will take them.
I have a clean question. Couldn't you approach AT&T about that?
Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
Jim has a question.
Yeah, okay, I have a question for you, Chris. They know where I live. And they walk right across the street from me is, and I don't know what it is, but he collects hot water heaters. Used hot water heaters.
What?
He had 6. Randy knows it. Randy and I talked about it also, but the guy had 6 hot water heaters laying in his front yard for a month.
Could be worse.
For a month. And then another guy must have thought that was a great idea, because down the street, I live, on Olinda, a guy put a hot water heater in the gutter. And so it was 7 on the street. Now, all of a sudden, they all disappeared, but now the guy has put 3 more in his front yard. It's a constant, and he's got cardboard boxes and all sorts of stuff in the front yard. I come out of my car and I go, oh, no, I just don't want to look that way, I just go down the street here. But there's something that's wrong with that. Is there?
It's actually funny.
I've lived in Elsewhere for 63 years, and so I know exactly what you're talking about. It never changes.
So the homeowners association.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't.
We don't have a homeowners association over there.
Oh,
County needs something. for
No, it
code
doesn't.
enforcement.
It doesn't. Well,
It
it's
doesn't.
nasty.
We
I
don't
know
want
if
one.
it's totally good for you, so anything that's surprising.
Hell no, we won't go.
There will be a code enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Maybe,
Yeah.
I think they probably
Or
would
just call any
complain.
metal recycler, they'll come get it.
Well, the only problem with that with code enforcement was the next door neighbor where I live, where it turned into a rental. The lady died, the guy across the street bought it and turned it into a rental. And for the longest time afterwards, there was a junky car parked right in front of my property, right in front, for weeks, and it never moved. So I called up the county, they came and towed it away. Okay, well, lo and behold, there was a guy that lived in the rental house. And they told him, who called up, to have it towed away. So he tried to accost me on the street, which doesn't work, because my 11 years in special forces in the Army when I was much younger, stopped all that routine right away. But the fact was that he wanted to accost me because they told him, and it cost him $450 to get it out of the yard, because they park it in the yard. Well, we ended up shaking hands and that kind of thing, but that's the only problem I have with the county is, yeah, you call them up and say, look, the guy across the street, and the guys across the street are the same attitude. Well, I think it's actually a money maker for them. I think they get the old hot water heaters and sell them for the money.
But why do you object? I'm confused.
Oh, because I come out and it's garbage sitting in front of me to look at all day long for 6 hot water heaters. I know it may not bother you, but it bothers me. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
but is it a public safety health problem? Is it a
No, it's probably not a public health problem, it's just probably a.
It's a beautification problem.
Well, it's a public nuisance because there is no sidewalk. And it's an eyesore. And it's an eyesore, yeah, it's just, to me, it's an appropriate thing to do that. Put it in your driveway, I don't care. Put it in your backyard,
I'm just kind of wondering what ordinance would this?
I don't think
be
there is.
for-
That's what that's why I thought maybe Chris and Mickey ran into something that like that, but.
I mean, if it's attractive.
Probably not, though, I wouldn't think so, because it's all sealed, the hot water heaters are sealed. They be selling the metal.
If it's on the street, you could call public works or.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you don't,
Maybe check and see if there's something about improper disposal. Because it's metal
Mhm.
and who knows what chemicals were used to build them.
Mhm.
And how they were constructed and how they decompose. And whether or not dangerous chemicals are leaching into the ground.
Which is probably none of that's good work, but that's good. That's good, George, I like it, that's good. And the other thing is that I think it's for the metal in the hot water, whatever it is. Because between my house and when you go down to the Free Will Baptist Church, when you turn the corner to go Sherwood Forest, between my house and there, they have had a house that has 2 times had the telephone wires stripped outside. They take the copper out of the telephone wires and sell it. So that's,
Yeah, that's happening everywhere.
yeah, I know this, but I've never had the hot water heaters happen before. So that's kind of a new thing.
Well, we like the burned out house too.
So,
Can I just, my thought that comes to me about this is that it's like if this was a homeless camp or something, we would
It's
have SOS to get in there, but maybe we need to have some kind of a group that could be able to, willing to intervene in situations like that where people have an issue. Because it's like, you don't want to have ruckus with your neighbor, but on the other hand, I have no connection to it, so it's like, I was just, once we have separately coming into the kind of talking about what's this all about. And then, maybe something like
Walk
that.
it down the street again, then make it walk down the street.
Yeah, I know, right, but I don't know, it's you have a mediation for things, so what SOS does would be.
well, I would just encourage you to be really, really one.
Oh, yeah, I don't think there's, honestly, except for the fact that they do kickboxing in the garage all the time, other than that, have a big bag.
So I just, my question is, have we completed our discussion of?
Yeah, just one thing on Earth Day, if anybody knows an area that they've noticed that we need to send people to clean up litter, let us know. Okay.
Right here in front of the library is a mess.
I just did it today.
You just did it?
I did at the corner of that. Corner of that also today.
I couldn't stand it when you and I were.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So I think, thank you, Mickey, Chris, and everybody on the litigation committee.
Oh, is the map gonna have a table there at our Earth Day?
Something we should do with the time, I won't be there.
You won't be there?
I'll be in DC on vacation.
You can have half.
Yes, I would have to follow up with you about that. Yes.
Fried cheese, mac and cheese.
It's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
I think we need to do that at Stroll though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think you need to do it at Cheese Park.
Yikes. Yikes.
Okay, it's been a long.
So I think what we can do, let's move to agenda items. So, well, agenda items first. So, Tom pointed out something in last month's minutes, I was supposed to give the presentation on the Martinez refinery incident. What I'd like to do is move that to next month. Probably what we need to do is you and I need to coordinate our calendars to get a timely reminder, so we remember to put this as a presentation on the agenda.
Okay.
The Martinez refinery.
The Martinez refinery, the snowstorm of catalyst. All right, any other agenda items for upcoming meetings? If you don't have something in mind now, feel free to email Ronnie, copy to me would be great. So public comment, are there any public comments? I'll take that as a no.
Okay.
So the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John, for